No!
I love General Grievous. My very first contact with the Star Wars franchise was in the 2003 Clone Wars cartoon, and for the very few scenes he's in, Grievous is an absolute badass. I immediately fell in love with the character. And then they decided to make him a clown. But seriously, go watch the Clone Wars cartoon. Questionable art direction, but awesome series. Anyway, I kept that first image in my mind, and when I started playing the game, Grievous was the tune I wanted to play. I unlocked him, geared him up, and when the first rework came around, I proceeded to start shrieking Jedi Knight Ravens with it. It wasn't easy, but I loved it. Then Gear 13 came around, so when everyone started posting about that insane Grievous AoE and all these, oh, General Grievous just trashed Malak and holy freaking cow and yada yada, I was hyped as fuck. So I geared him up as fast as I could, I put his health as high as I could, and attacked the best Malak on my shard. It turns out that, as always in Galaxy of Heroes, as long as you don't throw a ton of money at your problems, it's not that easy. If you just go in with the team as is and you expect to win easy peasy, prepare to be disappointed. That's why I made this video. After this first loss, and after I stopped crying for a bit, I went back up and started to do some testing for mods and for different team comps and turn orders and ideas.
Oh no! No!
This video is the result of that testing. I'm going to share with you not the one, but the two ways I think this team should be played. Those being the two ways I think will give you the best win rate against the big Malak teams out there. Against, your just average Joe Schmuck team, you can do fine as you like. But if you want the Grievous Nuke to be reliable against some real teams out there, you will want to watch this video. So, this is my Grievous. Get him up to gear 13, slap the best health mod I have on him, and voila! 125k health, with some funny numbers around like all the 6s making the beast and such, and plus 69 speed, totally not on purpose. Absolutely not, actually, really not on purpose. But yeah, this is what I would advise if you intend to run Grievous. If you want him to kill Jedi Knight Raven or to be in defense for your Grand Arena. Stack health, make him absolutely huge and kill stuff. But for this team in particular, for the Grievous Nuke team, it's a bit different, because you really don't want any RNG in your fight. So, while I was gathering info for this video, I got this kind of big debate that floats around about your triangle for Grievous. Should you put health or crit damage primary on your triangle for Grievous? So, as you can see, I'm on the health side, but both sides have their kind of fanatics, and both sides try to convince each other that they have the best idea. In the grand scheme of things, I really think health is better all around. But for this team in particular, actually both sides are wrong. So, during the debate itself, I just realized at one point I told the guy, but saying that crit damage is better for DPS is only true if you have a 100% crit chance. And that was my epiphany right there. Then I did this.
NANI?!
And wouldn't you know it, my win rate just like skyrocketed. Basically, you really need to crit in that matchup. You just want your Grievous to have a 100% crit chance. So, you know all those like screenshots with big teams-wide one-shot of 5 crits with a clickbait title like GG obliterates Malak and such? Well, with a 100% crit chance, it's basically a guarantee for you. You really can get these pretty easily. So all you need is to put your base crit chance high enough that with the passive of T3 and 4 giving you 8% and your lead, you will get 100%. So you still need to have enough health to do some huge damage though, because if you don't, you might get a bit short and like at the end you might not kill Malak, for example, and you could lose the fight still. And that's why my modding actually isn't right. What you want actually is a health set triangle with a crit chance primary and put it to 6 dots, because 6 dots give you a 8% jump from 5 dots to the primary. So I don't have any good mod with a health set and crit chance primary, so I kind of have to go that way to have a set that give me the 8% missing. And so that makes my health a bit lower than it should be, like it should be around 115k. But it still works, that's still good enough of a health to basically one-shot almost anything. So really, trust me on this. If you have one of these mods, like if you have a health set triangle with a crit chance, just put it at 6 dots and put in there, and then aim for 62% if or 72% depending on your lead. I'm just gonna talk about that just a bit later. Then go full health and just guarantee enough speeds that he will get to play before the Sith Empire team. Like 200 is plenty enough, really. You won't have any trouble if you just go for 200. That's okay. So after that, for the rest of the team, because Grievous isn't as awesome as he was in the cartoons, so he needs a team. Lame. But yeah, so T3 and 4 is absolutely mandatory. With the Zeta on his first passive. You really need that because that's your big damage deal actually. That's what just makes the numbers absolutely huge. For each debuff they have, you will gain 8% critical damage. And ferocity counts and everything else you apply counts. So that's why you get some stupid damage numbers like 200,000 and stuff. So you need him to survive also, and you can see that mine is actually only gear 11, so if that's your case too, that's a bit frail, sometimes it just dies. Putting him at gear 12 will solve the issue, but you can still, make it work with mods, so you can see mine is actually quite a bit tanky. But if you have him lower gear than that, you actually can't win. So you need him to have him geared enough. Like, don't forget this piece, that's almost 1,000 health for very low investment. And then you need that Zeta. And also add in the Omega for the last special hit. The other ones are basically not even required, and the second Zeta is, I shouldn't say useless, but you really don't need it. Then BB-8 also is absolutely mandatory. You could replace it with Jawa Engineer, but that really makes the team a lot less reliable since Jawa Engineer doesn't taunt and it doesn't synergize with your tank. Your tank being L337. So there is some good reasons to run the Magna Guard instead. And while Magna Guard can work, and I mean even my Magna Guard can work, then it's like, yeah, it's there and it's like gear 8. So I actually won some games with that Magna Guard. But L3 is actually just really a more reliable tank, And there's Zeta, which at the start I thought would be a liability, because I thought like I want Droid to die to fuel Grievous, but actually it's pretty good, because the team shouldn't be winning as fast as you think it should be. So stacker with protection and defense, like all protection primaries, and I have 3 defense sets, and that's make her really, really tanky. And that's really all you need. Don't forget her passive too. She's a very good dumpster for your defense mods, you know. You don't care about speed too much too, so she's really fine. And then you want your lead. So in that team, you can use both HK47 and IG88 the exact same way for all intents and purposes. Their leads are really basically the same for this team. IG puts debuffs, he puts dots, and that will give crit damage through T3 and 4 Zeta. And HK has just flat crit damage on his lead ability. The TM gain is absolutely irrelevant, and they both just like use one AoE and then they die, so the rest of the kit doesn't really count. The real difference, actually the only difference, is that HK47 gives 30% crit chance, while IG88 only gives, that's not that one, that's still not that one, IG88 only gives 20%. So, since you want your Grievous crit chance to be 100%, that means you will have to aim for 72% crit chance if you play IG88 as a lead, and only 62% if you use HK47. So that makes IG88, you know, the good replacement if you want to keep HK for your own Dr.Evan team, but that also makes the team a bit more mod dependent, more intensive, because you need a lot more crit chance on Grievous. But basically, that's the only difference there is. So for the fight itself, once you're modded right, here's what you want to do. So basically, the turn order of the opposing team doesn't really matter, and yours will almost never change, except maybe for L3. First, you just taunt with BB-8 and you use AoE. That can be either from both leads, IG88 and HK. You just use AoE and you try to land as many debuffs as you can. Then Grievous plays and does his AoE, so he will land some target lock. When L3 plays, she just taunts. That's basically all she does. Then you use the AoE from T3, and they have, you can see, a lot of debuffs on their heads, and that's enough. And they start doing their thing, and they're actually starting to stack quite a bit of ferocity on them. L3 taunts again. So you can see that even if Grievous at the start got feared because he did a crit on Malak, they do enough AoE that it can pretty much guarantee that Grievous never loses a turn. So they keep doing their thing. Here I just made a mistake. You see that I just used the second special to taunt, and check for this. If a droid is lower health, like BB-8 is, and he doesn't have shock, as you can see, it doesn't have shock, and L3 is prepared, use the heal, actually, use the first special. She will heal BB-8 and make the fight a bit easier. So now HK is gone, because of, Deathmark. So HK is gone, that gives Grievous his first free turn. But wait, because L3 can sometimes do this, and that's also my fault because I did the mark once more, she counterattacks on Malak, and I'm unlucky enough that she gets a crit, and that makes Malak pass his threshold. So he uses Drain, and he kills her, because she was, taunting and marked and everything. So that's kind of going poorly for me. And yet, so Grievous gets his free turn after that, because maybe he should have played before, I don't know, maybe I lost a tie or something, but he still gets a turn. And as you can see, he has a Corrupted Battle Meditation on his head. So that's really bad, because Corrupted Battle Meditation takes out crit chance from you. And there is the reason why most people lose when using this team, or just have to rely on luck. If I was to use the AoE right there, I don't have 100% crit chance, that's not a guarantee. So I could not land a crit on one of these guys, or maybe 2, or maybe 3, sometimes that's even worse than that. So right now, since I don't have a 100% crit chance, I won't use the AoE, I will use the crawl. Here you go. So you see, even with 70% crit chance, I didn't crit there. That's a normal hit. But now, since BB-8, sorry, forgot that too, since BB-8 was marked, as you can see, he's a bit tankier than T3, so he was the guy who was marked, and because that, right now that's because Sith Trooper just, counterattacks, BB-8 dies. And I get another turn, and this time, I don't have Corrupted Battle Meditation. So I'm basically absolutely 100% guaranteed that this will happen. There, and here you go. And that could be a very good thumbnail too, with a big title like, oh, I just obliterated Malak. The second way you can build this team, well, I can't really show you any footage because it needs IPD. IPD could be replaced with B2 for this, but I found him to be heavily unreliable, and he also forces you to take General Grievous' speed really low because of his second special that gives turn meter. But since you don't really know how much debuff will land, you can't really predict how the fight will go, and the video is about trying to take the RNG out of the fight, not to add more. I'll put some screenshots in, since I can't use any footage of my own, but basically, the idea is that since Bastila is your main problem, because of Corrupted Battle Meditation, you want to take a route ASAP. This might be a tad more reliable than the first way, but it's also a bit more mod intensive. So the turn order goes as follows. IPD will use his cleans and will try to get target lock on the team, especially Malak. Then IG-88 will do his AoE, and at this point you need Malak to get target lock. If you modded these guys right, it's not that bad of a chance, but it's sometimes quite hard. So if Malak didn't get target lock, you kind of go back to the first turn order, except you have one less tank and basically you have a kamikaze. If you did get target locked, the fight is already won basically, because Malak won't be able to taunt while he has target lock, thanks to IPD's Zeta. So next, you want T3 to play before Grievous and learn his debuffs, and then Grievous plays and uses Creepy Crawl to promptly one-shot Bastila. Since you have a 100 crit chance and there's a ton of debuffs on the field, she'll die. Then some shit will happen because the Sith Empire takes a turn, and soon a droid dies and Grievous Zeta gets him another turn. This time you want to Creepy Crawl Malak away, and if your Grievous is modded for health correctly and has his 100% crit chance, he will die too. The rest is just you waiting for that last droid to die for last AoE. And then, well, this last AoE will just take out the rest of the team. This team works, but depends exclusively on getting that first target lock on Malak. So it won't really be a good solution against the high tenacity Malaks you see sometimes. Also, on some rare occasions, you will see a guy running Malak as his fastest tool, and this second team is a risk there because Malak will clear your only taunt, and then your whole team gets feared. So to reiterate, two teams you can play with. The IPD one, that seems a bit weird, but is very good if you have the right mod for it, and the more classic one, that is less mod intensive and basically only requires you to have the right turn order, a ton of health of Grievous and maybe a bit of luck. Both these teams aren't the most reliable ones out there though, and I highly recommend that for Grand Arena or for Territory Wars, you stick to a more reliable counter for those Malak teams, like Jedi Dr.Evan with Tron, or like Commander Luke Skywalker with Tron, like Tron basically, or maybe Padme. But if you want to have some fun while climbing arena, and if like me you love that badass of a cyborg that is General Grievous, go ahead, have some fun. I thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and if you have any question, comment, or ask me on Discord anything. And in the meantime, do like I do. Wait for General Grievous to become even greater. Wait for my boy.
The Techno Union Army is at your disposal now.